Want to listen to the podcast where we talk sports raw and unfiltered?
Mahomes looking to flip, takes it in for the touchdown.
Looking for a little something on the edgy side?
Keep your head out there. They're going to do dumb. Play our game. All right? Play hard, but stay poised.
You're about to be locked into the Unscripted podcast.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Oh, man. Welcome back. Something new right here. Episode 1 of the Unscripted podcast. Appreciate everybody who's always listening, who's always tuned into the show. You can find me on any platform available, whether it's Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, or any way that you listen to your podcast. Again, I always say, man, I appreciate everybody's support. This podcast is definitely going to be a little something different from Brian Ain't Lying. Appreciate the 10 years that everybody rode with me. But we got something special going on here with the Unscripted podcast. All right, let's jump into it. The Boston Celtics, which usually I don't start the show off with my own team, but I will today. The Boston Celtics are up 2-0 against the Philadelphia 76ers. And Jason Tatum has came out and basically become a superstar in the bubble. And it seems like all we've been talking about is the last 2 weeks is a player has been doing something in the bubble, basically. So it's a good joke that I got going on with somebody. But Jason Tatum has basically been a star. Jaylen Brown just came around to be as good as Tatum is. The grit and grind of this team is Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is a guy that if he gets 2 points, he's okay with 2 points and 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Marcus Smart make plays that you cannot put on the stat sheet. And every team would love to have a Marcus Smart out there. The guy I want to talk about that seems out of place would be Al Horford. Al Horford joined Philadelphia in the offseason, leaving Boston. The big contract was on the table for Al to join Philadelphia, and he took that. And I asked myself, and I even asked friends of mine from day one, how was Al Horford going to be with the Philadelphia 76ers? They were telling everyone that they were going to run basically a 6'8" and above lineup. I don't think it was ever going to work. Ben Simmons is a guy who likes to control the paint. Embiid wants to be in the paint. Al Horford is a paint guy. Even this late in his career, that's why Al Horford likes to live. And I don't think it was ever going to work. Al doesn't look happy with the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think that this could end Brett Brown's tenure as head coach of that team because, and kudos to Brett and what he's done with the Philadelphia 76ers by turning them around. But they aren't reaching their potential. And I don't know if you have to trade Ben Simmons, who's currently hurt, or if you have to trade Joel Embiid, which I don't think you should ever even think about entertaining. But you guys have your own opinions. You guys can say, hey, maybe trade Embiid and keep Simmons because Simmons is a floor general. But I think it's about time to change coaches for the Philadelphia 76ers. And while we're talking about coaches here real quick, I voiced this on Twitter a lot that a lot of black coaches aren't getting an opportunity anymore. And when I say that, it's not saying it to be racist. It's not saying it to be anything that you think I am. It's not that. If anybody knows me, I'm far from racist. I just look at guys like Tom Thibodeau, who's given another chance. These guys, these retread head coaches. I was glad that we stopped hiring Jeff and Stan Van Gundy eventually. But then there's guys like Sam Cassell. There's guys like Patrick Ewing, Tyronn Lue, Mark Jackson, Jason Kidd, Darvin Ham. The list goes on and on and on of guys that are not given the opportunity to propel themselves to be a head coach in the NBA. And Ty Lue has won a championship, but he hasn't got a head coaching job since Cleveland. Think about this. He won a championship. He helped the team come back from 3-1 down to make history. And unfortunately, he's not given a chance. So I would like to see, more black coaches come around, more newer coaches. This is more of a players coach league right now anyway. So I would love to see a guy like maybe a Darvin Ham get a shot, Jerry Stackhouse, those other type of guys, like, even a Mike Woodson. I get it that he's a retread, but people don't remember, and if I'm correct on this, the Knicks haven't been to the playoffs since they fired Mike Woodson. Mike Woodson was the last guy to get the New York Knicks to the playoffs, and I think that's what people are fairly missing out on. Moving along here, talking about the Eastern Conference playoffs right here on the Unscripted podcast. The defending champion Toronto Raptors. Let me clear something up about the Raptors. I was totally wrong at the beginning of the season. I mean, during the last offseason when Kawhi walked, and which was expected that Kawhi was going to walk, I said that Toronto would fall right back into Toronto world, meaning that they would be like maybe the 6th, 7th, maybe 8th seed in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. And they've arguably been a top 3 team in the East this year. I get it. People are always going to say the same thing. The East has a weaker conference. But you have to remember, they lost the Finals MVP, the guy who helped lead this team to the NBA Finals, to free agency. And you're asking Kyle Lowry, a guy who I slandered the entire time, you ask Kyle Lowry to basically take that leadership role, which I don't think that Kyle was ready for again, and I was totally wrong. I think Kyle's played well this year. Pascal Siakam has played well this year. I think those two guys meshed together real well. That team is very unselfish, and I kind of must say I must appreciate that type of basketball. Nick Nurse out there coaching, giving them certified plays to run, and Nick Nurse, honestly, if it's not him or Billy Donovan, should be the coach of the year. Honestly, you may have to tie it and split the trophy in the middle and give it to both of them. You got to figure Nick Nurse lost his MVP. Billy Donovan, think about it. He lost Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook in a couple of seasons, and most people wanted him fired. He traded for Chris Paul. Everybody said, why would you trade for an aging point guard? Well, Oklahoma City's down 0-2, and we'll talk about that after the break. Oklahoma City's down 0-2, but for them to be in the playoffs and they had a 0.2% chance to make the playoffs, that's damn near impressive. So, definitely shout out to Nick Nurse and Billy Donovan. On the other side, they are playing the Brooklyn Nets, who are pretty much depleted. Karis LeVert coming around. I know everybody loves Karis. I, myself, will always say that if Brooklyn plans to go into next season with a big 3, I don't think it could be a Karis LeVert, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant big 3. As you can see, LeVert has to have the ball in his hands to make plays. Well, when Kyrie and KD come back, these are 2 guys who, they're basketball dominant. You can't have 3 guys that are basketball dominant. Somebody's going to have to change their game, maybe make some adjustments. And I don't think it's never going to be Kyrie Irving. Kyrie is just not going to change his game. And I don't know what Kevin Durant we're going to get. I don't know if we're going to get MVP KD, or if we're going to get KD who's just really that hurt at this point in his career that he's very limited. So Brooklyn's going to be the question mark. I know in the offseason, when their season ends, I'm not going to disrespect Brooklyn, but when their season ends, I know they're going to look to make some type of adjustments, maybe to bolster the bench maybe a little bit. They have a solid coach in Jacques Vaughn, who I think that honestly deserves an opportunity to coach that team next season at least. I'm not saying go ahead and give Jacques Vaughn a long-term deal. I think that Jacques Vaughn deserves to coach that team next season at least. And I think Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are okay with Jacques. I haven't seen them, make some kind of crazy posts. I even liked Atchison when he was the head coach. I don't know why they fired him, but that's no here or there. I think that, Jacques Vaughn will be their guy. And if you listen to the podcast today, you're probably watching the Orlando Magic and the Milwaukee Bucks, which was a shocker for Game 1. I never once in a million dreams thought that Orlando was going to steal a game against the Milwaukee Bucks, coming in here heavily favored. They were double-digit favorites to beat Orlando, and Orlando came out and basically beat Milwaukee at their own game. I said this on another podcast, is that I think the Giannis slander and the LeBron slander are 2 different slanders, because I don't hear anyone mentioning how Giannis went the final 11 minutes, 27 seconds without a bucket. Think about this. This is the reigning MVP. This is the potential 2-time MVP. He went the last 11 minutes, 27 seconds without scoring. That can't happen. That can never be a thing again. If you are the Milwaukee Bucks and you're looking to advance to your first, finals eventually, if that's the goal, your superstar cannot go scoreless at the end of the game. Kudos to Orlando, man. I can't take nothing away from what they did. It was something very special for them to get a Game 1 victory. I get it. It wasn't on the road. It was kind of in a neutral site. But all of us, including myself, we had counted Orlando out from getting the game. So, me personally now, since they got the game, I think it'll probably be maybe a gentleman's sweep. And if you don't know what a gentleman's sweep is, it's 5 games. I think that'll be the final with their goal. And, Giannis will advance to the next round. But I say this to say that the slanders are completely different. And I hope that Mike Budenholzer doesn't let his superstar go another 11 minutes and 27 seconds of a game without scoring. Those are the things those are the tape that team will continue to pull, and they want to see what the Milwaukee Bucks' weakness are. The Miami Heat and the Pacers, I think we all look forward to this matchup with TJ Warren, cash considerations. We all been calling them that. And Jimmy Butler, they had a rivalry going on in the beginning of the middle of the year before the pandemic came and affected everybody. And prayers go out to everybody who's dealing with the pandemic, who's been affected by COVID-19, who have battled through COVID-19. So I just want to send my prayers out to you right there. But yeah, Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren both have downplayed the beef. They pretty much said that it's the Heat versus the Pacers. It's not TJ Warren versus Jimmy Butler. But you can see there's a couple of plays in those games, even Game 1 and Game 2, where you can see that Jimmy Butler is going at TJ Warren and TJ Warren's going at Jimmy Butler. I can tell you Miami has been another shocker. But they have a sharpshooter, man. Duncan Robinson is a guy who can shoot the ball. And it just seems like every time you see Duncan Robinson shoot the ball, the first thing you're saying is, I know it's good. And that's a lethal threat. With Jimmy Butler there, Bam Adebayo, he's coming around. He's been actually successful this year. I think that Bam should probably win most improved player. And then, we all shout out coaches, man. Coach Spoelstra. You got to think about it. He's lost LeBron, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh. In a span of a 2-year span, he lost all 3 guys. He just said, no problem. I have to build Miami back up, and that's what he's done. He has built Miami into a potential contender. Do I think that Indiana's going to win a game? It's going to be tough for the Pacers to get a game. They are missing Sabonis, who, I think that will play a big factor in this game. And Oladipo just hasn't been the same since the injury. I think it's still going to take him a couple of more, maybe months to get back to what Victor Oladipo was. You got to remember, man, he had that gruesome injury. He's fighting back. He's trying to play. He's trying to will his team on to get a game. So I'm very intrigued to see if the Pacers can actually get a game. And then we'll slowly backtrack a little bit here in the Celtics game. Gordon Hayward out 4 weeks. That guy can't catch a break. And it's not, I don't think it's Gordon's fault. I call it the injury gods. Like, you look at Grant Hill and Michael Redd and Greg Oden and, any other guy who's been injured. You got to add Gordon Hayward to that list. Gordon Hayward, for some reason, it seems like when he's peaking, especially with the Celtics, he's gotten hurt. And again, he'll be out the 4 weeks. This will be very interesting for the Celtics because in the next round, if they advance, they're going to need somebody like Gordon. Gordon is a solid scorer. I don't think they can continue to go with Marcus Smart in the starting lineup because you need that guy off the bench in Marcus Smart. And then on the plus side, Gordon Hayward is expecting another baby, so you don't know if Hayward's really going to come back. And once you come back to the bubble, you have to, reset and quarantine all over again, get tested. So that could play a huge factor with the Boston Celtics with round 2. All right, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. On the other side of the break, we'll break down the Western Conference playoffs. I can tell you it feels good to be back. I appreciate everybody that's listening via live or listening to the podcast on your busy time. All I can say is thank you. You listen to the Unscripted podcast. We'll be right back. Hang tight, folks.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Bailey.
And I'm Mike Hill.
and our lives matter.
Black Lives Matter.
I am Dr. Contessa Metcalf, and my life matters.
Our lives matter.
Black Lives Matter.
My name is Tanya Sam. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter.
Black lives matter.
We will continue to fight for Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd, and so many others who have lost their lives. But we have to create a change, you guys. We have to use our voices, our resources, and our wallets to make that change. I ask of you today to make a donation to Know Your Rights Camp.
Colors Change. NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund.
ACLU. Black lives matter.
Our lives matter.
This is President Barack Obama. In the story of America, the greatest chapters are moments of challenge, when we see people serving their country and one another. Volunteers who step forward into hospital corridors and church basements, along levees and fire lines. And the next chapter is yours to help write. Sign up to volunteer at usaservice.org. That's usaservice.org. Let's renew America together.
A message from Renew America Together, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I might look like an adult, like a person who could possibly be a parent, but I have no idea how to talk like one. And everyone knows that if you want to be a parent, you have to sound good when you say things like, "Don't make me turn this car around," or "Because I said so," or "Don't make me come back there." I don't even really know what those things mean, but I know that I actually believed my parents when they said them to me. How did they manage to sound so convincing? Here we go. "Don't make me come back there." Ugh, no, that's not tough enough at all. Kids can sense weakness. "Don't make me come back there." Ooh, yeah, that's better. In fact, that kind of sounded like my dad. Weird.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to listen to you practice your dad voice. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Unscripted Podcast. As always, I appreciate everybody listening to the podcast on whatever platform that you're listening to. Thanks for always taking busy time out of your day. And of course, we're going to be looking at getting some sponsors in eventually, so be prepared for a lot of stuff to be sponsored by the Unscripted Podcast. So we definitely appreciate all of our future sponsors. All right, so we talked a little bit about the Eastern Conference, and we talked about Giannis a whole lot. We talked about, he just can't go scoreless anymore. And we talked about the Giannis slander, and then we'll move right into the slander of LeBron James. The LA Lakers basically this is their worst nightmare right here, playing the Portland Trailblazers. Nobody in their right mind, and I kudos to Damian Lillard, because Lillard wanted Portland to have a shot. He didn't want to come to the bubble and Portland had no shot. So he worked with the NBA, kind of pitched some ideas out there. They went with one of the ideas, which to me, I was kind of shocked that they went with the idea, and it kind of maybe somewhat ripped Memphis off a little bit. But I think that I'd rather would see Portland playing the Lakers than Memphis playing the Lakers. And why is that? Because we've seen exactly why. The Portland Trailblazers stole Game 1 from the Los Angeles Lakers. And I don't know if you could call it a steal. I wouldn't say they stole it from the Lakers, because I think we all gave Portland a lot of, respect for possibly getting Game 1 against the Lakers. The Lakers offensively had more struggles again. LeBron James, he's 35 years old. Everybody keeps saying playoff James is coming. And yeah, mind you, he had a triple-double. It was very impressive. I'm not going to take nothing away from what LeBron did in that game. Anthony Davis played well. But they also had, I think they shot like 5 of 35 from three-point land. Danny Green, who has been atrocious with the Lakers. He has not been good. But this is Danny Green. I don't understand why we're expecting more out of Danny Green. He's a streaky shooter. This is what he does. He has hot nights. He has cold nights. You appreciate when he hits 8 threes. You don't appreciate when he hits nothing. The Lakers are struggling, especially without having Avery Bradley as well at the bubble, even in the lineup at all. The positive is that, yes, they do get Rondo back, but I ask myself, is that enough? Are we really putting the cape on Rajon Rondo to save the Los Angeles Lakers from possibly losing to the AFC Portland Trailblazers? I don't think that's the case. I think that Anthony Davis is going to have to play unhuman basketball. He's going to have to be unreal. He's going to have to do things that he's never done before. I think that the spotlight, to me, I think when the lights are on, Anthony Davis tends to want to turn them off. That's not his game. He doesn't want to be the guy who takes over the game. But LeBron asked for Anthony Davis, and I think he's going to pull, maybe if it's not in the playoffs, I think in the offseason, he'll pull the same move that Dwayne Wade did when they lost that finals in 2011, when he told LeBron James, hey, look, man, I brought you here to be great. I didn't bring you here to be passive. Anthony Davis has to be better in game 2. And when I say better, he's got to be more aggressive, because I don't think he's been aggressive at all. I don't think you should even think about playing JaVale McGee maybe. Maybe I play Dwight Howard a little bit more. Portland's very tricky because of Dame and CJ and Melo. Nurk has some speed on him. But the guy who came through for Portland was Hassan Whiteside. Nobody's talking about him. The stat line wasn't big, but the plays he made were big. Portland is definitely an awkward 8 seed. Usually, the 8 seed is always a team that was like, oh, yeah, we just won 2 games. We got here. We know we're going to get swept. Portland isn't thinking that way. Portland is thinking about trying to upset the Lakers and make it to round 2. Frank Vogel's going to have to make a ton of adjustments. You can't bring in, and I joke, you can't bring in J.R. Smith. I called him Henny Wings. But you can't bring in J.R. Smith and basically give him a DNP. You brought in Deion Waiters. He played 1 minute. Quinn Cook didn't play. I don't know what Frank Vogel was doing. He didn't make adjustments well at all. But I think that's been the problem with Frank Vogel and his entire career. His entire career as coaching is he's not a great guy who makes adjustments. So he's going to have to go in game 2, and he's going to have to play maybe a little bit more of Markieff Morris. Again, Deion Waiters, 1 minute. Alex Caruso got 30 minutes on the floor. He played 29 minutes, but he got 30. J.R. Smith's got to play. They don't stand a chance. They have to put a better shooter on the floor. You know, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, KCP. Guys, please, if I hear somebody else hype up Kentavious Caldwell Pope again, I will throw everything in this studio in the trash. The guy isn't good. The guy should not be on the Lakers team at all. He should never wear a Lakers uniform. He just isn't good at all. So I think that the Lakers will make some adjustments. I know Lakers fans are going to probably say, because I'm a Celtics fan, I'm going to throw Lakers slander. I'm not going to always throw Lakers slander. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I think that Dwight Howard, when he's in the game, Dwight Howard has made plays. He's not a scorer, but he's an under the basket rebounder. I like him. To me, I like him better than McGee in this series. A little bit more versatile than McGee, a little bit more controlled than McGee. McGee sometimes can be out of control. LA Lakers, I'm telling you, you cannot lose in the first round. Paul Pierce came out today and talked about LeBron's legacy, and he mentioned that, you know, if he doesn't win a championship, his legacy is shot. I'll disagree with that. Everybody can't win a championship. And Paul, you should know this by now. You won 1 NBA title. And so that means you would say your career was probably a bust then. And I'm a Paul Pierce fan, but you can't say that about LeBron. Now, losing in the first round, if that was to happen, yes, then I'll agree with you. That takes a part on his legacy. All right, let's stay with LA here. Because we all been watching a very fun series with the Clippers and the Mavericks. Game 1, we watched Kristaps Porzingis ejected to me for no reason. I think that Dallas stood a good shot at least maybe stealing game one. I was going to say on the road. I want to say on the road so bad. But they were going to steal game one from the Clippers, and then Porzingis gets ejected. The game changes. And shout out to that. Shout out to Luka Doncic, man. Luka is a baller, man. And I think that he doesn't get the credit that he should get because, A, he's on the Mavericks. I'm not saying the Mavericks are bad because I think the Mavericks are an up-and-coming team. But I think if it was maybe like the Knicks or something like that, I think Luka would get more love. He's getting less love because he's on that Dallas Mavericks team, where it's a kind of a smaller market. When you look at bigger markets, you look at like New York and Boston and the Lakers, and you look at those. I think if Luka played on any of those type of teams, we would be talking about him. And then game two, Luka said, "We're not going down 2-0. Lemon pepper Lou Williams." I think that's so funny, man. Like the man went out the bubble to go to the strip club, man. And I'm not mad at him for doing that. I mean, I'm not gonna say I want him to admit to it because if he admits to it, then everybody's gonna be like, "See, he left for that." Man, bruh, sometimes you gotta just be like, man, this bubble, man, this is tough. You're asking, and before we continue on with the Clippers, you're asking for men to basically isolate themselves from women for these next almost 2 months. It's kind of tough for them. Some of those guys actually have families. Some of those guys are like Lou Williams, who wanted to get his lemon pepper wings. So I'm not mad at Lou for trying to get his lemon pepper wings. But game two, the Dallas Mavericks came out and played well. The Mavericks played like they wanted the game. And then I continuously, it is not slandering this guy. It is telling you the honest truth. Paul George is not ready for the playoffs again. This is what I think about Paul George.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Hey, that's Stephen A. Smith saying that. So I'm going to agree with Stephen A. Smith. I think we are always getting fooled by Paul George. The first thing people tell me is that, oh man, when playoff P comes around, playoff P is playoff G. G stands for garbage. 2 for 10 from three-point land. He shot 4 of 17. You are trying to keep Kawhi Leonard happy. You don't keep Kawhi Leonard happy when you are not playing your best basketball. The Clippers as well, to me, I thought their team is very deep. But looking at the guys, I mean, Zubac, I don't know if he really belongs in the game. But then, do you move Montrezl Harrell into the starting lineup? Do you throw the flow off there? I think you may have to possibly think about that. Dallas is a little athletic out there, and I don't think Zubac can chase anybody, off the three-point line. I think Montrezl Harrell can. Lou Williams played well. I think, again, I predicted that series to go 7 games. I'm still going to stick with that theory. I believe they're going to go 7 games. If the Mavericks eliminate the Clippers, I wonder what that says about Kawhi Leonard, though. Because then people are going to start saying, oh, was Kawhi really the reason why Toronto won? Because look at the Clippers. They can't even get out of round 1. So there are so many storylines that are going to be revealed over the next maybe week and a half or so, because the games are every other day. So we're getting an opportunity to see more storylines. We're getting games all day long. It feels like that. I'm at an AAU tournament and all March Madness, because I only get catch 3 games out of 4. Bless my heart. I can't catch all 4 because of the busy work schedule, but you guys know how that goes. And I'm not DVRing a 1 o'clock game, because most likely the 1 o'clock game is always going to be you don't expect too much to happen in the 1 o'clock game. You'll get the Raptors, Nets, Bucks, Magic probably in those 1 o'clock games. But the Clippers definitely got to play better. If they don't play better, Dallas could be sending the Clippers home. And what does that say about Doc Rivers? Is Doc Rivers really that great of a coach? I mean, I give him credit. His best coaching job was last season. He did more with less. Now he has more, and he could potentially produce less. Not good for Doc Rivers and the Los Angeles Clippers. Okay, well, We talked about the Oklahoma City Thunder at the beginning of the show a little bit, where we gave praise to Billy Donovan for potentially being the coach of the year. I think with me, Billy Donovan would get my vote. I don't own a vote, so if I owned a vote, I probably would vote for Billy Donovan, maybe not Nick Nurse this year. But it looks like Oklahoma has kind of met their match with Houston. And I thought this was going to go maybe 7 games, and it still has a shot to go 7 games. But being down 0-2 to Houston, I don't think you're going to come back from out of that hole. And I thought this was the perfect matchup. I said, maybe, OKC is the one who ends Houston's franchise and they fire Mike D'Antoni. But Oklahoma City has started to fade away, and they're starting to show you their downfalls. I mean, again, Chris Paul is going to be Chris Paul. He's a point guard. That's what he is. They don't have really a lot of action off the bench. I mean, Dennis Schroeder comes off the bench. He's okay. After that, they got nothing. Nerlens Noel, nothing. Like Aaron Nader, nothing. They don't have a bench to even contend with the Houston Rockets. Houston, and let me not say this guy's great, but Houston's got Jeff Green coming off the bench. I like Jeff Green coming off the bench. Today, another solid outing. 15.7 rebounds. Like, they don't have that off their bench. They had 7 people in double digits. Mind you, Tyson Chandler doesn't see the floor. And I think he would be a great rebounder. Damari Carroll's on that team, doesn't see the floor. Houston is a legit threat in the Western Conference. And don't get me wrong, I was the one that probably said, I'm not too concerned about Houston. It is what it is. Houston to do what Houston does best. They'll start going far, and then eventually they'll pull Houston Rockets and be eliminated. Looking at Houston right now, they got a good shot at least possibly being in the Western Conference Finals. I think one of the most underrated series that we kind of been not really talking about is the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz. Denver came into this playoffs, and people said that Denver was loaded and they would be able to do certain things, maybe blow past Utah. And Donovan Mitchell said, no way, no how. I'm not going to let you guys just run me out this gym. Scored 57 points in a losing effort. Had a big game too. He talked about becoming a better player overall. He said that maybe when he first came into the league, he would have taken more shots. Now he looks to pass a little bit more. And that's kudos to Donovan Mitchell for expanding his game, because you have to expand your game in any sport, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, golf, whatever, lacrosse, whatever you play, you have to expand your game. So Donovan Mitchell is doing that. And I still took Denver. I think I took Denver in 6. I think when it comes to scoring, I think Denver has a little bit more scoring than Utah has. But I'm intrigued, man. I'm intrigued. I can tell you this, though, man. This bubble, this has been exciting to watch. I don't know if in the near future if I want to do this again. No crowd kind of hurts. I like hearing the crowd sometimes, whether it's boo the hell out of a player or scream because somebody hit a big 3. Like, I've watched a couple of 3-pointers that were big 3s in the game. Yeah, Mike Breen says bang, but after that, it's just like, golly, where is it at? All right, let's do this. Let's take one more break. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL, and then we'll wrap up episode number 1 of the Unscripted podcast. Thanks for listening, and hang tight, folks.
It's time to practice staying healthy on Sesame Street.
Yes, and the first thing you have to do to stay healthy is always wash your hands.
Come on, wash your hands with Elmo. Wash, wash, wash.
Next, try to avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth.
Elmo's not touching.
And when you have to sneeze or cough, do it into the bend of your arm.
Sneeze into your arm with Elmo. Achoo!
Yeah, great job.
All right, welcome back. Unscripted podcast right here. That PSA is because we all want everybody to wear your mask, continue to be safe out here, wear your mask in the store. Please continue to remind yourself to only leave out for important reasons. Please do not just go into the store for no reason, just to lollygag around. Be safe. Again, wear your mask over top of your nose. You hear this on every podcast, but you go in some stores and people have their mask sagging down from their nose. That is not the proper way to wear your mask. All right, I said we were going to come back and talk a little bit about the NFL.
The NFL.
Dez Bryant gets a workout with the Baltimore Ravens. He hasn't played football in 3 years. Baltimore gave him a workout. He left without a deal. I thought that he would have got some type of deal. Maybe Baltimore wants to wait it out a little bit longer. I'm not mad at the Ravens. I'm going to give them credit for actually giving Dez Bryant a workout 3 years after he's been out of the league. But we've seen other players get, opportunities 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. out of the league. Former Washington football, I can't even say that too many times, running back Darius Geis accused of rape. Dang, I almost called him the Redskins. The Washington football team cut him about maybe 2 weeks ago. Darius Geis' career has probably been maybe a little bit of disappointment due to injuries. And now you have these things going on with the alleged rape. LSU definitely should look into it. For Darius Geis' sake, man, if it's true, I don't know if he gets a second shot in the league. Ray Rice didn't get a second shot. Darius Geis, so much talent, and possibly could not be getting a second shot in the NFL. The Chiefs were able to lock up Patrick Mahomes on that super deal that I never really got a chance to talk about. That's a big deal for Patrick Mahomes. I think that Kansas City is going to be good. They're going to be great for maybe next 2-3 years. That's a huge contract. I didn't see it coming. I don't think anyone else seen that coming. And I just seen this article here, which I hate discussing. Ryan Fitzpatrick looks like he's going to be the starter for the Miami Dolphins, with Tua being the backup. That's a guy who has not stealing money, but man, he ends up as a starting quarterback week 1 probably almost every year now. Like for the last 4 seasons, Ryan Fitzpatrick has been probably a starting quarterback for week 1. Look it up. I'm not going to look it up. I do not have time to look it up like that. And there's something that came out recently was Tom Brenneman. He's been pulled from Fox NFL games and anything else sports related. He won't be on the commentary booth at all. He came out and had a unacceptable slur, and I can tell you one thing, man. I'm not cool with voicing what you think on air, and it doesn't matter if it's on air with the mic being off. When you're around people, certain things you just can't say. And I'm going to say I want to give Brenneman the benefit of the doubt, but again, I'm not cool with that, man. It's unacceptable. Everybody has a right to believe what they want to believe in and be what they want to be. I will never tell anybody that listens to this podcast that I will never accept you. I accept you for who you are and who you will be for the rest of your life. I respect the real person. That's the one thing about this podcast that we will always do. So I'm not here to beat Brenneman down to the ground, but he definitely owes the community. He owes the community definitely a big, big, big apology. Tom Brady has been working out with Gronk in Tampa Bay, and Bruce Arians claims that Rob Gronkowski is maybe the same Rob Gronkowski from 5-6 years ago. I'm going to disagree. I watched Gronk, and it's sad to say this. I watched Gronk on WWE, and I've been like, why is Gronk on WWE looking like he's 155 pounds? Again, I said this on another podcast that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't go but so far. Brady's 43. I think that New England Patriots run last year, that should have been the grand finale. He should have hung it up after, but he wanted to play, and I'm not mad that he wanted to play. But I think that's this would be the grand finale for Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. I think they maybe get a year, maybe 2 years max together. I don't know if Brady goes into next season saying he wants to play, and that's even still if there is a football season. All right, so again, I appreciate everybody who always listens to this podcast every single day, doing your busy schedules. I must say I truly appreciate it. We look to do more stuff, get more in depth, bring more guests on. Trust me and believe me, we'll have a couple of guests on. And again, you can always follow me on Twitter at Brian A. Lyon. before we get out here, Antonio Brown, because I wrote some stuff down that, half the time I can't find the crap that I write down anyway till like an hour later. But Antonio Brown has like retired, unretired, retired, unretired. And at this point, I'm just kind of confused here. I think that Pete Carroll wants to give Antonio Brown a try, but remember, he suspended the first 8 games. Does Russell Wilson miss Antonio Brown for 8 games? No. Would he be helpful for the final 8 games? Yes. So we're looking to see if Antonio Brown gets a second shot. I think how he did John Gruden and the Las Vegas Raiders, I got it right, Las Vegas Raiders. How he did the Las Vegas Raiders, Oakland at the time, was kind of disgusting, man. It left a sour taste in a lot of teams' mouth. A lot of teams started saying to themselves, should we give this guy another shot? I don't know how I feel about them. I'm kind of torn in between. I want to give AB another shot, but how he treated that team, walking out the door, filming that video, and, they released him, man. He could have just stayed quiet. I think that New England released him without a lot of detail, so that was kind of wrong on their behalf. So I'm excited. If everybody knows me by now, I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm very excited to see what this team will do this year. Hopefully they can get over the hump, because it's about time to get over the hump so we can shut a lot of the naysayers up. All right. It is time for me to get out of here. Go enjoy some food. If you haven't ate, go eat. Again, stay prayed up. Please, 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 let's arrest the cops who killed innocent young Breonna Taylor, and justice for George Floyd. Again, I appreciate everybody listening to the Unscripted podcast, and I'll see you guys on episode number 2 on the other side.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Unscripted podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.